So welcome, Jane. I'm really thrilled to have you here and to be able to have an interview and face-to-face interview with you, although online. And I would like to also thank you on behalf of Chance Association I cooperate with, which is a partner of the conference organized by the Office of Assistance and Social Project of the City of Warsaw. So thanks a lot for being here and for willing to share your knowledge, your experience, and wealth of wisdom.
It is my pleasure. That is one of the advantages of the COVID, is that we can reach each other all around the world by Zoom. And so thank you for having me.
Thank you. So the conference is organized to brainstorm ideas how to best help children up to 3 years old to develop, to gain social and emotional skills, and just to feel safe in the environment they are in. So I would like you to broadly answer this 3 questions. The first one is that, what is positive discipline? Because there are many people who don't know what positive discipline is. What are its basic assumptions? And how can positive discipline help us in taking care of children up to 3 years old? What we should pay attention to, and also how is positive discipline linked to emotional intelligence, and how does it help children learning social and emotional skills?
Well, and I'd like to answer those questions broadly first, and then show some detail in my PowerPoint. And you know, the first question is, positive discipline is a method of parenting and teaching that does not include any behaviorism. It does not include punishment or rewards. There's the 3 kinds of parenting or working with children. One is behaviorism that is based on punishment reward. You know, it's the adult's job to catch the child being, quote, good and give rewards, and catch the child being, quote, bad and give punishment. And the thing is that this works because the punishment usually will stop the behavior for the moment, but it's not very effective long term. There's been so much research that says this is not effective long term. And the other thing is that children love rewards. They really like them, but it is also very not effective at all for social emotional development. In fact, children learn that they don't want to do anything unless they do get the reward. And that is not helpful for them long term. And the other thing is, I taught child development for 10 years at a community college. And one of the things I realized, even though we give positive discipline, is based on what is called the authoritative method, which is respectful to everybody. There's no punishment involved. It really does teach children how to develop social emotional skills. Positive discipline is a social emotional development program that is goes through how parents and caretakers work with children to draw forth and help them learn the social and emotional skills they want. In fact, when I show the 5 criteria for positive discipline, you'll see that they're all to help them develop social emotional skills. And so when I wrote my first book on positive discipline, and you might find it interesting, the reason I wrote that book is because as a parent, I would go through either being too punitive until I didn't like myself, because I don't like punishing children. I don't think most people do. Or so I would then go to permissiveness until my children became demanding, and you know, I didn't like that. So I would go back to being punitive, and I would just go back and forth, and neither one was good for long term. So when I took a college class on child development, and the professor said, I'm not going to tell you a bunch of theories, we're not going to teach you a bunch of theories, we're going to teach you one theory that really helps children learn self-discipline, responsibility, cooperation, problem-solving skills, contribution. And I thought, oh wow, that would be great. But I was one of those, what I call challenging listeners because I was saying, well, yes, but, you know, because it can be hard to make the shift and give up all punishment and give up all rewards but you can't ask parents or teachers to give up punishment rewards if you don't show them what else to do. And that's what positive discipline is all about, is what else we do that really helps children develop the characteristics and life skills that involve the social emotional development. So anyway, with my first book, Positive Discipline, which covers all ages in a way, but I thought children under the age of 3 are very different. Their brain development is different. Their social, their cognitive is very, very different. And so there are a lot of tools that really are not effective for young children, and to help them, what I want to present in the PowerPoint is Erikson's stages of social emotional development and Piaget's principles of, let's see, what do you call it, of emotional development. And so to really understand those, and I want to share some videos and share some examples that will help the parents and teachers in your conference really understand the difference and why, for the brain development, age development of young children under 3, they really have to understand what is appropriate based on lots and lots of research in university child development centers. So would you like me to just start with my PowerPoint to go through this?
Sure, let's do it.
And if at any time, Anna, you want to stop and ask me any questions, feel free to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Get through all of this. We'll just see how much we can do in the time that we have. The first question I always like to ask is, how many of you just really love being a parent and teacher most of the time? And I really do think that most of us do love working with children. That's why we get into having children, or why we want to work with children as teachers or child care givers. But sometimes we don't like it at all. You know, when I was getting my teaching credentials, the thing that we all worried about the most was, how do you deal with misbehavior? How do you deal with the discipline? And so, you know, the other thing is, why is it so hard? And it's because we have buttons, and guess who knows what they are? So children just seem to figure out how to push our buttons. And whether they're doing it on purpose to get attention or to get power, or whether it's developmentally appropriate. This is what we always have to figure out. And so it's really important for parents and teachers to know that we're not alone. And there's just no such thing as a perfect parent or teacher. And one of the things I really like to emphasize is that even if we use positive discipline tools, that doesn't mean that children are going to be perfect, and it doesn't mean we're going to be perfect. And that's okay, because one of the primary principles of positive discipline is that mistakes are wonderful opportunities to learn. And we want to teach children that too, that, oh, I made a mistake, what can I learn from it? Which is a great social emotional skill for them to learn. So
Yes,
I
and
love to show, yes,
yes, what I notice a lot is that when I lead classes for parents and teachers, is that the expectation is that once they have a tool, the misbehavior will stop. And this is exactly what you said, that positive discipline will not stop misbehavior, but it will help us to teach children appropriate skills that are valuable at a given situation.
You know, Anna, I'm so glad that you emphasized that, because if that weren't true, that children will keep misbehaving, it is developmentally appropriate. It's called individuation. It's called finding out who they are separate from our parents. And if we could just teach them skills once, they wouldn't need parents for 18 years. And in the classroom, we could say, okay, I've taught you everything you need to know in a week. Now go out and do it on your own. But they need that mentoring and that teaching and that guidance. And, you know, I like to use the analogy sometimes that you don't expect children to learn to read all at once. They start by learning one word and then maybe a sentence, and they keep progressing in their grade level. And that's the same way with behavior. It's developmental. And they now know that the brain is not fully formed until about the age of 25. And so that's why they need us. But one other thing that's so interesting to me, Anna, is sometimes parents say, well, I just lose control. I just get so upset. And I say, but you expect your children to control their behavior when you don't control your own behavior.
That's right.
And so also, as parents and teachers learn these skills, they won't be able to do them all the time. Sometimes you remember and sometimes you forget, and it depends on your mood and your buttons that get pushed. So what I loved is that when I started using these positive discipline tools, I didn't do them perfectly. But I learned how to apologize, and I learned how to fix it when I made a mistake. And that to me was very valuable, because sometimes it was better if I hadn't made the mistake in the first place, because I learned to be very good at apologizing. And some people think, oh, you shouldn't apologize to children. I think it's very important, because when you say to a child, I'm so sorry, what do they say?
I'm so sorry too, usually.
Yes. Or they first say, it's okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. So it's teaching them about forgiveness, and it's teaching them that we all make mistakes, that we all get upset at times. And that doesn't mean that's who we are forever. We can focus on solutions. So that's another theme for behaviorism. What is the problem and what's the punishment or what's the reward? In positive discipline, it's what is the challenge and what is the solution? And that kids are so good at finding solutions, not as much under the age of 3, but they start getting so good at that as they progress developmentally. But I love this cartoon by Calvin and Hobbes, where he says, here, Dad, I'd like you to sign this form and have it notarized. And Dad says, I, the undersigned Dad, attest that I have never parented before, and insofar as I have no experience in the job, I am liable for my mistakes, and I agree to pay for any counseling in perpetuity that Calvin may require as a result of my parental ineptitude. And then there's Calvin sitting in timeout saying, I don't see how you're allowed to have a kid without signing one of those. And what's so interesting and funny about this is because it's so true.